to another episode of In Deep with Indy. Today's guest is a soul alchemist, a guide through the liminal spaces where transformation is born. From surviving deep poverty and trauma to crossing the veil in a near-death experience. Brenda Jeanne Jeanne.
Yeah, it's French.
Jeanne has walked through lifetimes of lessons in this one lifetime. She is a healer of hearts, a blueprint creator for inner and outer change, and a voice for the cycles that shape our souls and our systems. Working at the intersection of personal transformation, social justice, and cosmic wisdom, Brenda helps others shed the stories they were told they should live and step fully into the lives they were born to create. She walks with the moon, sees the patterns in our evolution, and understands that healing ourselves is how we heal the world. Today, we're diving into the cosmos, the soul, and the human spirit with radiant and revolutionary Brenda Jeanne.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here.
I am so excited.
That was probably the most kind, the most well wrapped up introduction that I have ever received. Thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. That's why I ask for the introductions every time now. So this is something new. I didn't do it on certain episodes, but I felt like it would be better to ask those particular questions so that I can get an understanding and learn some things about people who do come on, because there's some people that come on and I just met them just in passing, and I'm like, oh, you'll be cool, like, to come on my podcast, and then I don't know who you are, but your conversation is something that people need to hear, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. So just knowing and learning people, but I know that we had a pretty long conversation, and I learned a lot in such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
So I was excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here. And I love like your light and your energy. You're so radiant. Like,
oh, thank you. See, I know it was something about me. Like I was placed on here to, give that high vibrational, good energy. That unconditional love feeling where you're safe, you open up and like there's no judgment. You're here and we can just have a great conversation.
And what a difference from the way that we're used to experiencing people and things, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I am me and I have my, like, I know the things and I'm not questioning anything else. But like, I think one of my favorite ways is like, that I've heard this be expressed is being askable.
Yeah.
So like you're soft enough to approach with a question.
Right.
And somebody doesn't feel judged or shamed for having a question, because we don't know everything, and it's okay.
It is.
To admit that we don't know everything.
I heard it was a smart person, and I'm going to say a smart person because I think they actually passed away, but they once said the smartest person knows that they know nothing at all. And that's something that stuck to me forever and ever. And that's why I love to read. That's why I love to learn. That's why I love to have conversations. People are like, oh my God, you're such a people person. I'm an energy person.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I could have a conversation with anybody. And I'm always open to I'm coming in not knowing. Even if people have told me things, I still don't know who you are. I don't know where you've been. I don't know your intentions, but I come in with that. So I get to know who you are, and I'm just open and yay. And then it'll be energy. And I'm like, okay, it's time to cut this short.
Yeah.
So that's me. But people take it as, oh, you're a people person. Oh, anyone has access to you. No, I'm very sacred. Everyone doesn't have access to me. And I'm very blunt, and I'm nice, but I'm honest too. I practice my throat chakra.
What a line to find, though, that line between being nice and being kind and being like honest, especially I think when you're so connected to spirit and you're channeling all the time, and like you can see people's, like for my instance, where you can see people's patterns and cycles, and like I've had to learn in the very hard way sometimes. I've had to learn like how to bring that up to people and be like, yo, friend, like you're doing something this way, but maybe if you switched your perspective this way, like it wouldn't feel so heavy on you all the time, right?
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of, so we met and we had a great conversation. So for those meeting you for the first time, how do you describe your work and the sole mission behind it?
Ooh, what a deep question to start off with. I think that's something that I'm still like finding the appropriate words for, right?
Okay.
Like if you're looking at a business speak, that elevator pitch of like wrapping everything together nicely and putting a bow on it.
Right.
And that's been so hard for me because I do a lot of different things. Like I study astrology and I study change. I'm very interested in change and cycles of growth, personal and societal. Right now, I'm very nerdy about like the end of the age of Pisces and the beginning of the age of Aquarius, and like all of the things in us internally as well as in our society that need to shift and change. And we're kind of seeing the collapse of a lot of things. But rather than be afraid of the collapse, like I'm interested in what comes next and how do we build what's next with integrity.
Right.
So for that wrap up of things, it depends on what topic we're talking about and how I'm going to present myself to somebody, right? Because it's very broad in that aspect.
You said you're really right now into the Pisces, us going from the age of Pisces to us going to the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? What's about to happen?
Yes.
Well, what do you know?
So the age of Pisces started about the time of Jesus and is going to now, so it's about 2,000 years. And that's really where we're focused on hierarchy and control and I don't know, all of these other systems that have been in place, right? We've been talking about that a little bit with religion and with politics, and with societal expectations of like, we all need to be in this cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And so the age of Aquarius is a little more expansive from that, where we are celebrating the individual, and we're recognizing that our individual strengths add to the full of the collective, kind of that melting pot kind of ideal that we set here a long many time ago and haven't really reached yet. And so like I'm just really interested, like when you come to the end of a cycle, you kind of like think about it in the terms of like you're doing a course in school.
Right.
You get to the end of a chapter and you have a chapter review. You get to the end of a section and you have a section review. But then you get to the end of your semester and you have a review of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
So like right now in this time period in our society, we are reviewing literally all of the lessons that we should have learned over the last 200 years. And when we're at that end, the viewpoints that are working on falling away buck up. So like we're seeing this like buck up of the big ego and like the strongman leader and like the power over versus power with or internal power kind of aspect of things. So I'm just super interested in like how all of those fit together and how we come from this end to the leap of something new.
That's going to be interesting. And that goes with like transformation. And that's something that you talk about a lot.
Yeah, everything is based in transformation. Like you can't just spiritual bypass yourself into the next level. You have to do the work literally every time of finding the courage to take a leap into a different way of living.
And that's nice. So in your view, how do cosmic or astrological cycles influence our personal growth when it does come to transformation and naturalness of it? I know. I have some questions. She done popped her neck. Oh my gosh. It's about to get deep.
I mean, because like everything is cycles, right? Like if you think about astrology, you have all of these planets and all of these asteroids that are going around and around and around in circles. And we have like our outer planets right now. Pluto is where it was during the American Revolution. The last time Uranus was in Gemini was World War II. The last time Saturn was where it is now was 1970s. Don't quote me on that one.
Okay, don't quote her.
But like we're seeing the resurgence of, are people inherently worthy because they are people?
Yeah.
Do women have the same rights as men? Like we're seeing all of these cycles repeat back up in our lifetime. And it's really like we reach a conflict point. We find courage to jump past that conflict point. We live together in this new place for a while and it feels great. And then a couple generations later, we forget about it and we fall back into those cycles, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't do the underlying healing of the traumas that took us back down into those like places of fear or shame or guilt that like really inhibit us from that growth and that like feeling good and that like unconditional love vibration.
Yeah. I like that. I love that. That I'm gonna get my words together today.
That girl, sis, we
yes.
trying.
Yes, that definitely it explains a whole lot that a lot of people don't know. But of course, you gave enough for someone to go and do more research. That's what I'm big on. We're gonna give enough, and then you're gonna do your own research. You know,
It's so important.
it is
So important because like we're finding that we have so much information and you've got to go with what resonates with you, right?
Exactly.
But also you can't just rely on being told by other people what to do. Like it's time to use your noggin.
That's definitely called domestication. That's one of the biggest things that happen with people. They're so domesticated and so stuck in their ways from whatever they have learned that they tend to just go with whatever, even if it don't feel good. So I'm big on what resonates. Like what resonates with me, what feels good to me, what does this, I do that every time. What what does this mean to me?
Well, and that domestication, that not looking at things differently is a safety mechanism because our bodies tell us, oh, you can't look at things differently because it's not safe to do that. And so like for me, it's all about finding safety in your body. And how do you do that? How do you find safety in your body in order to be able to explore looking at things from a different perspective?
Yeah. That's the fight or flight that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And that definitely comes from trauma. So
Yes.
speaking of trauma,
So much trauma.
growing up in hardship and trauma, what first sparked your connection to the spiritual and cosmic realms?
I think I was always there. Like my mom was gone a lot when I was little. And so like the best memories that I have of my childhood were when I was just like in my own world. I had so many make-believe friends, probably maybe spirit guides, some of them, right? In that connection, right? But I was just in my own world and just happy there. And it wasn't until I went to school and college and then got out of college and I was in the working system where I lost myself completely because like I was like work, and grind and do all of these things to be in this financial system. And I lost myself. I lost that light.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said you had a lot of the imaginary friends. And I know a lot of people that goes, again, domestication is like, I think my favorite word today, but that goes again with that because you start to lose yourself because people start to tell you, no, you don't do that. No, you don't do that. No, that doesn't go that way. And that's what we do as, that's what our parents did. And hey, as parents, we do that as well because we're like trying to teach our children, but that's not them being their authentic self. So your authentic self was that time where you did have all of those imaginary friends or spirit guides. And I remember I didn't have a lot of imaginary friends, but I did have some people. Well, I'm not going to say some people, but I'm going to say I've had the times where I was talking to myself. So I would stand in the mirror and I can remember I was 5 years old. And it's a lot of things that I don't remember from because I have what you call trauma memory loss. But it's a lot of things I don't remember, but I do remember standing in the mirror and like touching my hands, touching my face and looking at myself and was like, am I really here? Like, who am I? Like, what is going on? And like believing and just standing there and was like, this is like, what in the world? And that's like the fondest memory that I have. So
What a deep thing for like a 5-year-old to
yeah,
do, right? Like,
yeah,
what is this meat suit that I'm in
right.
in this like weird world where I have to ask somebody if I can go to the bathroom?
Yeah, like I have to ask different things, or oh, you can't, you got to take a shower, not a bath. Like, you don't need to take a bath all the time, or, oh, no, it's not time to eat. Yes, it's time to eat. No, you eat this. No, you don't eat this. It's like, that doesn't, oh, you don't talk to yourself. That's not right. Well, there's a lot of geniuses that actually talk to themselves. Albert Einstein, to be exact, one of them. Talk to yourself. Like, that's something that you do. It's okay.
I just turned 40. Let's talk about this. I just turned 40 in earlier this year, and like I still am having to decondition and recondition my relationship with food because you had a half an hour to scarf down lunch during school.
I know.
And that half an hour maybe turned into 10 minutes because you're standing in the lunch line getting your food for the first part of it.
You know what? You speak on that. I think the time for lunch is even shorter now. Is it? Oh, I forgot. There's no one else here but us, huh? Outside of the person behind the cameras. But yeah, I think it's even shorter. You know what? School resembles jail. Everything about school is jail. You have a lunchtime. You have a time where you can recess. That's like in jail. You can go in recess. The walls, there's really no windows, and if there is windows, then it's like enough to see the playground, and you just want to sit there. The way that the entire school building is built is literally how a jail is built.
Yeah. Did you know that our school's fun fact? Our school system was based off of the Russian school system, I believe, and was designed to, and this was like way back in the late 1800s or early 1900s or something like that. It was designed to create people who have a mindset of like showing up for factory work, right? So school starts with a bell, classes end with a bell, factory work starts with a bell, factory work ends with a bell. So it was designed to get people in that like Pavlovian mindset of like the bell rings and I show up, the bell rings and I go over here, and that's where we're at, right? But like 100+ years later, our school system hasn't changed, but we've learned so much more about the brain and how we work, and how what best supports us, how we learn, and our school systems really haven't changed that much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think it's just sad of like everything that they're taking out, what they're putting in. It's like they're creating their own little soldiers.
They're taking out the creativity, and they're just like learning basic things that you need to know in order to do a job.
And basic thing, and math is not one of the math. Let's talk about not actually teaching the correct math.
I don't know what they're teaching now. I don't have kids, so I skipped all that part.
Let's talk about it. Like there's certain things that you need when it comes to math in this world, but it's not what they taught us or what they're teaching our kids.
You know what they don't teach? Balancing a checkbook.
They sure
running
don't.
A bank account.
They don't teach any of that because they don't like it. I feel like it's certain people who don't want you to get to a certain space.
No, money control is for the rich. It's not for those of us in the working class.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to spin back.
Let's
you
spin back.
had a near-death experience that literally shifted how your brain works. Did that moment deepen your spiritual gifts or alter your sense of intuition?
Very much. So right after 8th grade, I wrecked my bicycle and a piece of my skull chipped off and cut my artery. So in the medical terms, I had an acute left epidural hematoma. And I flatlined. They rushed me to the hospital. They took 12 ounces of blood off of my brain. So it was very much like Dory afterwards, where like my short-term memory was gone. Like I could watch TV and then commercials would come on and like I had no idea what I was watching. And so like I was a gifted, talented kid when I was younger. I didn't have to study. Like school all of a sudden became very hard. Navigating the world became very hard because it's like I know it's like I could lean into, I knew the energy of somebody and who was trustworthy and who wasn't. But like navigating all of those pieces in life, I really had to learn how to sharpen my intuition. And this was on the left side of my brain, which controls your like logic and your reasoning thinking and like your scientific thinking. So like I really had like my brain physically learned to rely on the right side of it a little bit more, which is that intuitive, higher connection side of things. And so I think honestly, at the end of the day, was a benefit, which is weird to talk about a near-death experience in that way, because it just like you were saying with that trauma memory, like it shut off all of those memories of my childhood and all of the trauma that I lived through until I was able to process them and deal with them and unpack them in a safe way instead of just like being bum rushed by all of these like awful things in my childhood. Both big T and small T trauma, right? Of the like big things that happened, but also the sustaining, not being able to be myself, being told to cut off all the sparkly bits of myself to fit into this society that I don't fit into. And so like leaning into that intuitive side, and really focusing on that aspect, like literally until a couple of years ago, I would have said my brain is just broken.
Yeah, and now you're more understanding or understanding of what's happening and why it happened, because there's a why behind everything.
Yeah, I picked up reading again during COVID. I had a chance to sit down for the first time in my adult life, and I picked up reading again and learning. And like the brain is we have what's called neuroplasticity, where your brain can change. And so also during COVID, I did some mushrooms, because what else are you gonna do when you're sitting still for a very long time? And I can't say for sure that helped, but right, like those interconnectivities of putting those different neurons back online, right? Like really helps expand the part of your brain that's actually working and processing things and creates those new connections.
That's cool. You know a lot about the brain.
I was so frustrated about how
what happened.
About my brain injury and about how like I recognized that I didn't fit in around all of these other people. And so I became just very curious, like, how does our brain work? What happens after you have a traumatic brain injury when your brain goes offline? Like, I started doing research there, and then I realized that I was ADHD, and I did research there, and then I realized that I was also autistic, and I did a lot of research there.
What made them say that you were autistic? What is it?
So I don't have a definition. Like, I don't have a diagnosis of it. But for me, autism is not a series of behaviors. Autism is the way that your brain processes information. So we've labeled autism by what we can see externally people go through, which is usually trauma behaviors. When somebody is having a meltdown, they have gotten to a point where their boundaries have not been respected enough and they can't handle it, right? You know, like when I lash out on somebody, it's because I've been poked too much in my energy system and I just can't handle it anymore, right? So autism is the way that your brain processes information. And neurodivergent people, autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, all of that whole umbrella, have more neuron receptors in their brain. So like we call it delayed processing, but what it is we got so many more layers that we're thinking through and processing through, right? In neurotypical people, A equals B equals C. It's very linear. For autistic people, you're like, but I have this thing, and if this thing happens, these other things, and if these other thing happen, these other things. And it's like thinking through all these layers of a kaleidoscope, which if you have a lot of trauma, we're doing that in a way to keep ourselves safe. And neurodivergence, I will say, can develop because of trauma in your body, because your brain is starting to like shatter a little bit and look at things differently. And it's about like, how do you support yourself? And for me, like it was getting rid of a lot of the shame and the guilt that I felt of, oh, but if you just work a little harder, you have so much potential. Like, you know, all of those stories of like, yes, I get to the end point. I turn a paper in and it's a great paper, whatever that looks like. But my process was full of, I'm not ready to do it. I can't do this. All of the anxiety around doing it. And then like Can I tell you how in college I got so good at writing a 10-page paper the night before it's due? Because like that's just my ADHD and the way that it functioned. And I couldn't sit down to do something like until the outcome had so much more like need for me to jump over that anxiety to get the project done.
I definitely had to do things like that. Like those 10-page papers, especially getting a master's with children is like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Working a full-time job, you learn a lot. Going back to something that you had said, and it does have to go with like, you see like patterns in humans, consciousness and growth. And one of my biggest things is, before I ask this question, but I used to go to therapy. I didn't have like 15 therapists, who knows. So when I went to therapy, I ended up okay. So when I went to therapy, I ended up basically talking to my therapist, and she was like, she asked a question, and she was like, India, what have you given up? Sorry, what have you given up from yourself in order to fit in with others? And you were saying something earlier where you were like, I had to give up this and I had to give up this in order to fit into society. And it was so hard for me to answer that question because I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't give up anything to fit in. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go back to the age of 5. Let's go back to the age of 6. And let's look at those things of what do you give up to fit in with society. And that goes with the becoming conscious and the growth and everything that comes with that, and understanding like, oh, I am aware now. I am conscious. I'm conscious of, I did give this up and this up. So I can appease everyone else.
Yeah.
And I can fit in with my family. I can fit in at school with my friends. I can fit in with work. I can fit into whomever I was dating, like, oh, this is gonna be, and it's like, this is all a part of like the domestication of things that I've learned. Again, there go that word, domestication. Y'all gonna learn this word today. You're gonna learn domestication, okay? Because let me tell you,
I think for me, domestication, I like to that word. I like to call it conditioning, right?
Conditioning,
because we are conditioning ourselves to fit into this society, and like that question is a hard question because until you really sit and reflect on it, you don't really know what you gave up because those are undefined. It's for you to define those things of what you gave up, and. Buffering. I had another tangent that I wanted to tie in there, but let's go somewhere else.
It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna jump in because you've worked alongside with a well-known voices in astrology. I'm gonna say a well-known person who was the first astrologist on YouTube.
Yes.
What have you learned about how the stars and the planets mirror our inner evolution?
Again, it's all of these cycles, right? And the astrologer that I work with, he does Serious Joy. I don't know if I can plug that, but I just did.
You can.
Serious Joy, and he downloaded what he calls the STEP system. And so it's an evolution of human consciousness. And he does astrology down to the degree. So if you look at your chart and it has your like planet and then it has like a little number down there, he like focuses on those numbers and correlates the numbers to a planet and a sign and a house. And let me tell you, astrology was so hard for me until I found that specific system because it is so much information, right? But like it's like it gave me a focus of putting all of these layers of the kaleidoscope together so that I could take the things that I was feeling intuitively and be able to like connect them to my logical brain and then be able to express them and share them with people. So like everything starts with protection. Step 0. You got to protect yourself. And then you have to add love to it. And the problem is
that it doesn't
most
correlate.
of the time we're not protecting something and we're doing things we don't love. We're doing things we actively don't like doing, or we're making choices to move away from something that we don't like instead of towards something we do like. And when we're moving away from something we don't like instead of moving towards something we do like, even if we're off by 1 degree, after you go 100 miles, you're like way far apart.
Right. And I was gonna think about it like with protection and love. We were talking earlier, like when it does come to protection, that's more of like a safety, and people are stuck in that, and they forget about being in like doing, being, seeing, hearing, talking and speaking love, because that's not protective in this society. Because when you show vulnerability, which is a part of love, and you show that to people and you show them like, yeah, I love you without the conditions. There is a boundary. There's a difference between conditions and boundaries, people. You have to understand those. It's a thin line, but it is a difference. But I love you without conditions. I do have boundaries. That doesn't mean I'm not going to love you.
Yeah.
But, you can't cross these boundaries. But conditions, like, I'm not going to make you be something that you're not. I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to, maybe move with it a different way. But going back to that, like, doing that love thing is really hard, and it's not protecting yourself, because some people take advantage of that, or 95% of people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's safe to people. So you can't protect and love in the same way, or people can't. I've learned how to do that. So I'm like, I always say I'm the 1%, like where I am love, but I'm also protective of me first, and my peace and my energy and who I'm around and what I'm intaking. And that's everything from food to what I hear to what I watch to what I talk about. It's a practice.
Well, I think especially as women, finding that boundary is hard, because we are conditioned. This is where I was going to go earlier, and I'm glad that we circled back.
See, I did that.
We are conditioned as women. We are domesticated as women to put everybody else in front of us, right? Like, I grew up super evangelical Christian. I got engaged as a freshman in high school because my home life was awful. And I was told, just find a man, be with a man, and like, that's all you're here to do. Like, I didn't have goals for my future, right? I was conditioned growing up in this Southern Baptist evangelical church. I went to very many Billy Graham revivals growing up.
Billy Graham?
He was a huge evangelical pastor. Like, he would do tent revivals all around the South.
Tent revivals?
Yeah, his son's still doing some things very in some politics stuff.
Wow. Interesting. This is interesting.
So I was engaged at 14 because my home life was crap, and I found somebody who was 18, by the way, and was like, "Hey, you want to marry me?" And I was like, "Yes." And it took me 6 weeks of that to be like, "Nah, this ain't for me," because I will not go from somewhere that's oppressive to somewhere else that's oppressive.
Hold on. Hold on.
I see those gears switching in your brain.
Like, hold on.
Her eyes twitching as she's looking at me.
Explain. That's all I can say. A little deeper.
Yeah.
14 engaged. 18 met. Hold on. 14
No,
met 18.
He was 18. We were in school together. He was a senior and I was a freshman.
Okay, so freshman, senior. That makes sense. Then, how long did y'all date?
Oh, shoot. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know. I trauma blocked that out for a long time.
Was it longer than the 6-week engagement?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was probably for like a whole, like several months. Probably for a whole several months, right? But I was conditioned.
Y'all was gonna be that show.
I was conditioned to like not have agency and autonomy over my body. Right? Like that was, I had to hug people when I wanted to hug. My mom touched me inappropriately in ways that I didn't enjoy, not like sexually, but she would tickle me, and like I didn't enjoy that at all. You
gotta be careful with my audience, because they're gonna be like, hold on, Brenda.
Yeah, that's why I clarified. That's why I clarified.
Yeah, because my audience is gonna definitely ask some questions.
But she would tickle me for her humor, and I hated it. So like I was taught that I got to be touched for somebody else's humor, delight, whatever, in a way that I didn't enjoy.
Oh, that's deep.
From
that
a parent,
some chills.
right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't realize these things that we're teaching to other people around us. When we have this, just the structure of the way society used to be. And like, my mom was born in 1950. She was 35 when she had me. So she was in that boomer generation, and she was very, mistreated as a kid. Like, she didn't believe that she abused me in any way. We had a conversation last year about it. She didn't believe that she abused me in any way, but like, she didn't see that the things that she was doing, while better than what her parents did, were still abusive and not filling to my heart or my soul.
Right. And that's a lot of times when it does come to abuse. Parents, you have to treat people how they want to be treated, not how you want to treat them. Because there's a lot of things that's a thin line. Just like the movie, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. There's a thin line between a lot of things, from discipline to abuse. And that's not just physically, that's mentally, verbally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. It's so many different ways of doing that. And as a parent, you can be that way. It's hard for parents to say, I apologize that I rub you the wrong way, because a lot of times people feel like that they own something when that's not even love, and you don't own anything. You don't own your children. And people don't like to hear that. And I didn't like to hear it when I first read the book from Miguel Ruiz, The Mastery of Love. And I was like, hold on now, my kids is mine. And it's like, no, they definitely came from me, but I can't control them. Like, that's not love. And also I don't own them. And it's hard to explain when you say something like that, but you don't. I created them, and I created them to be the best version of themselves in order to serve their purpose on this planet.
Well, and don't you want them to just be able to go in and learn their purpose instead of unlearning all of this other stuff that goes along? Like, I've really been interested in, like, not only do we have to learn, we have to unlearn.
Oh, definitely. I have a book that says, I forgot who it's by. I think it's something the poet. Oh my God, I hate that I can't remember that book, but it's Unlearn What You've Learned. And it's a yellow book, and I had the green one too, but it burnt up in a fire.
Ooh.
I know I had a terrible fire. We won't talk about it.
I've had a couple.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
We can talk about it offline later.
Okay. Sounds good.
Or maybe another time.
Another time.
I really enjoy talking with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know, and I'm like, okay, it's getting close to wrap up. But in your own healing journey, has there been a particular astrological event or transit that brought a major breakthrough for you?
So the things that I really enjoy paying attention to in a chart, I love, and I know you're talking about, like, to me particularly, but I love paying attention to the North Node, which talks about where we're going in life, like our direction, our purpose. And mine is at 5 degrees Gemini. So that is, I know I'm speaking.
Deep.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, you speaking a different language,
foreign
but
language
that's okay.
on here. But that means that I am here to communicate and put all of these spiritual things into, like, an easy to follow mental place for other people, right? So, like, I like to say that I'm breaking down. Oh, here's my answer to your earlier question. I like to say that I'm breaking down, like, the bigger spiritual aspects of things into, like, tangible steps, right? Like, if you say, I'm going to love myself, how do we love ourselves? Like, what are those actions to take to love ourselves? And then recognizing that we're doing that, because so many people don't love themselves and they don't know how. And it's really frustrating when you don't know how to do something to be told, oh, you just have to love yourself. Like, that feels real condescending and patronizing.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't need to do that anymore. That's old. We don't need to patronize anymore, right?
Right.
So the North Node, I also really enjoy Black Moon Lilith, which talks about what we're afraid of, because so many people don't want to grow past what they're afraid of. And so when you shine a spotlight on that, you can see those things that come up, and you're like, oh, that's just a cycle. That's a pattern for me to acknowledge. I can see this fear and I can walk through it. I don't have to let the fear stop me. And then I pay attention to Chiron, which in the astrology system that I work with rules Virgo. Sorry for all you traditional astrologists. That ain't Mercury in my perspective.
Now, don't be getting me blackballed here, Brenda.
Listen. Controversy creates views, right?
It does, actually. So keep going. Keep going. Let's go. Let's take it off.
So Chiron is the embodiment and the wounded healer. It's an asteroid that was a centaur. And so, like, what did you come to heal this lifetime? And I think that it's really important, if you put all those pieces together, you see where you're working towards, what fears you have and what you need to heal. And so, like, looking at those three aspects in my chart and in other people's charts have helped me really, like, notice those cycles, and help people, like, get the courage to make that leap into the life that they really want to live instead of being stuck or stagnant between a rock and a hard place.
So you do shadow work. And when I say shadow work, I mean you're bringing your shadow self, which is the dark parts of you, the things that you may fear or the things that you're embarrassed about or the things that you have suppressed, and you shine the light on them and help them with healing. Because earlier I told you a lot of people truly don't heal.
Yeah.
And that's a part of healing.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part of healing, because you have to see that, like that mirror. And you know how you have like, there has been movies, shows, videos that have like the ugly and then the beautiful. But you're beautiful, but when you look in a mirror, you see like this ugly side, and you're like, yeah, that's not me. No, that's something that's hidden deep, and you don't like to see that.
Yeah.
And then you can't truly heal from it. So that's basically what you do.
Yeah.
And then you teach people how to love, and you have those steps for that. So you have a company, or you're starting a company.
Yes, I am.
What is it called?
It's called Rooted Revelation, and it is going back to finding that safety in your body so that you can face those hard choices and go, right? Like, society is shifting right now. We are in the middle. We are ending the old world and we are not quite in the new world yet, right? So we're in that liminal in-between state. And when you're in that in-between state, societally or personally, right, your old life feels kind of comfortable, your new life feels right, but it's not comfortable yet, right? Because you're not there. So how do you take that leap? Because it's so hard, right? Because that leap requires adjusting your insides, going through your emotional process, going through your mental storylines to yourself, adjusting your beliefs, checking your values again, like doing all of these internal work. But then also in your external life, it looks like cutting away from friends who don't fit that new leap that you want anymore, right? Which requires grieving those friends and those relationships that are ending, because you can't start something new until you really show, yeah, I'm ready for things to end. And like, that's lonely. Like, let me tell you, people look at me and they're like, you could just cut anybody out. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. So my son, I'm a Taurus, but it's
I'm
in
a
my
Taurus too.
Girl, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, guys. Like, you know.
But it's in my 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio. And so that is the depth and the transformation, right? And so, like, it really is in facing all of those parts of yourself, that integrated part of yourself, all of those parts of yourself in order to integrate them.
Right. I like that. Okay. Y'all, this is deep. And I hate that I have to
Let's go.
cut short, but no, we're not. We got one more thing. Well, actually two more things.
Okay, great.
You've done work in organizing and social justice.
Yeah.
How can cosmic awareness help us heal, not just individually, but as a collective? And when I say cosmic, we can go down to spiritual.
Yeah.
Astrological, which I put cosmos and astrology together, and just the spiritual, everything. Like, how can that help us? How does that awareness?
Yes. Okay. So a little background. 2020 happened. I was doom scrolling on social media. I found a group of people that were like, we should unionize restaurant workers in Nashville. And like, I've been in restaurant work for 20 years at this point. And I was like, okay, great. I know a little bit about unions. And so I started learning unionizing and worker organizing. And then I started educating myself on working conditions over the years and how, we have a 5-day work week and a 40-hour work week because of unions. We have weekends because of unions. We have labor protections and safety standards at our jobs because of unions. And I mean, like, there are people that have literally fought wars, the Battle of Blair Mountain, in this country that we don't get educated on because the people who make the education curriculums don't want working class people to know how working class people have joined together and stood up in the past. Okay, so unionizing and organizing is all about asking people to face their biggest safety security fear. If my boss does not like that I'm doing this, they are going to fire me, and then I'm going to have no money, and then I'm going to have no roof over my head, right? The biggest safety security fear. So I went from doing this kind of organizing to working for a union to like really diving into all of that. And then I hit a burnout because not all of our unions work people appropriately, right? Like they're still in the same working hierarchies as we exist in this other world where it's top down doing all of this stuff. My favorite form of unionism is bottom up, where like we do the working and then we all like the plans are made from the people that are actually doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Respecting the workers. Like if you're a bartender, you know how things are going and you know how much of what you need to be ordering and that you go through every week, right?
Yeah.
And so I went into a lot of like personal studying after that because like, how do we change? What are those things that make us feel safe enough to take that big leap? And so that's where a lot of that spiritual stuff came into this in that journey.
Cool. And would that help us to heal as a collective? All of this.
Yeah, I think part of the collective issue that we've had is this idea of this individualized cowboy that has been shoved down our throat since Nixon, maybe before that. But this rugged individualist that like lives off the land and does everything himself, but we're not recognizing the systems that happen behind that, right? Like by the time you get food on your plate, we don't think about the people that planted it, the people that picked it, the people that transported it, the people that touch it at the store. And so it's like recognizing that we can't, as much as you want to grow your own gardens at home, like we still live in systems and we need to support those systems to make sure that the people that are making sure we have clean water are paid appropriately.
Okay. I like that. So we are coming close to an end, but before I end, I have something called tea time.
Let's tea time.
Yes, let's tea time. And I have created this question and I change it up based off of the person. You popped your neck again like you're ready.
Oh,
I think
I'm
that's
just
the
like
time.
I've got like a knot right here. So I've been doing a lot of body work in my body for the last 5 years, and I have like one knot right here that just is like ready to go, and so it just is yelling at me every once in a while that it's tight.
So
and
you gotta pop
a little,
it.
like,
I got you.
stretch.
I got you. So my question is, if we were sipping tea that could reveal a cosmic truth your soul most wants to share with the world right now, what would it tell us?
Don't be afraid of change. Like so many people I know are like, oh, this places in my city are gone, and like we hold on to things so much, like you get so graspy and tight that we're not allowing things to flow, right? Like that's that ego control of I need to be safe by knowing that everything else around me is staying the same, but like nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. And if you are the same at 40 as you were at 20, maybe do some evaluation of that.
Things going on.
Right? Like I don't want to be the same person today that I was 20 years ago. I was kind of an idiot 20 years ago.
I think I was too. I know some that are still idiots to this day from that time, but
yeah,
no, all jokes aside, it's like I don't want to be the same person that I am today, tomorrow. To be honest,
absolutely not. And I think the other thing that I've gotten really good at that I love talking about is like face that discomfort. Right? Like I would rather have a hard conversation with somebody as soon as I can have it than sit in that anxiety and discomfort of putting it off and not doing it.
Ooh, honey, you speaking to the choir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But like
hard.
I don't want to affect my internal vibration and being and state of awareness and lower that down by living in that anxiety and that like yucky feeling churn. Like you get that feeling in your stomach like you're about to barf. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do that for the shortest amount of time possible and get to the other side, because usually there's some kind of misunderstanding going on.
What would that blend be? That tea blend? Everything that you just explained.
We live in different states of awareness, and they go from like that lower yuck awareness of fear and grief and anxiety and pride.
Let's talk about yuck. That tea blend would be
Yeah. Oh, like an actual tea blend.
like
Oh,
a
for me, that would have to be chai. I know so many people like it, but I do not like chai tea. It does not taste good to me. I'm so sorry for those of you who enjoy chai tea, but it tastes like a mouthful of yuck for me. I don't know what to do with it. That's my autism being like, no.
Well,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. I don't drink chai tea, so it's fine. It is fine. I don't know much about chai, but hey, y'all heard it. Chai.
Sorry, friends.
No. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we gotta have another one. It's like a to be continued, put a pin in
Let's
this
do it.
or something of that nature. That would be amazing because it's so much more that I want to talk about. But, time is ticking. Time is
ticking.
Time don't even exist. I was talking to my producer that's in the back. Time don't exist, but he's like, yeah, you got 2 minutes. Like, okay, no problem. I'm done. I'm wrapping it up. So it was definitely a pleasure having you on.
Yes.
I want you to tell people how they can find you.
Yeah. So rootedrevelation.com is coming soon. Should be up by the time this podcast is up. I got some work on my shoulders. And then Instagram, I'm Brenda_Jeanne. Facebook, it's Brenda Waybrandt.
Okay. Alrighty. Y'all had heard her here first. Okay.
It's right. This is my first podcast that I'm doing like in the spiritual aspect of myself. I've done others from labor organizing, but like this is it.
And I enjoyed every bit of it. And I hope you all did too. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. And when I say comment, please give us some engagement so we'll know what to talk about. Let me know if you want me to bring her back on. If you have any questions as well, that would be amazing. Thank you all so much for always listening to me every single week. I hope you all are enjoying In Deep with Indy. And you all have an amazing week. Peace, love, and light.